being the Jelly Roll Queen. I love making quilts using the Jelly Roll Race technique where we take strips from a 2.5-inch jelly roll and sew them together in a long strip, then sew them side by side until we come up with the Jelly Roll Race quilt top. Now when you're making a Jelly Roll Race quilt out of a normal 40 strip jelly roll, which these are a little bit atypical, you end up with a quilt that's about 64 inches long, like this one is. I used a 40 strip set in this particular one, and it makes a great lap quilt, as you can see, but it's not really great for bed because it's not long enough. It's also not wide enough. So I have to do something with my strips in order to make a quilt that's big enough for a bed top. In this particular tutorial, I'm going to show you a process that I developed for making a quilt that either will fit a king size or a queen size bed, and it will be using the technique that you use for the Jelly Roll Race quilt for the whole entire quilt. Now when I made this quilt, I made this one of my first Jelly Roll Race quilts for my queen size bed. I did my 32 rows and it ended up right about here. This was about the ending of the 32. So I had to add something to the bottom to make it longer. The way that I did that was I just sewed strips on one row at a time until I got it to be the length that I wanted it to be. However, that's kind of time consuming, and we know that the Jelly Roll Race technique is really fast. So I've developed this technique of making it in a little bit different way so that you can use the technique and make a quilt that is 96 inches long and however wide you want it to be. Now you can kind of fudge a little bit on that 96-inch length to make it longer if you're using making something for a big king size quilt, which I can show you how to calculate how to do that. But basically we will be using in the size that I'm going to make, my quilt is going to end up being about 80 inches wide and about 96 inches long. And what I did was I took 4 of these strip pieces that I got from Big Lots. They're $7.50 for 1 pack. And there's 24 strips in each one of the packs. We have a lot of our friends from the Missouri Star Quilt Forum. We ended up finding these inexpensive jelly rolls from Big Lots, and that was last year. I'm not sure if they're still carrying them, but beautiful fabrics, and then fabric is nice and it holds up, and it's very inexpensive. So for this big extra large queen size quilt, I have $30 in strips invested in it. If I were to use a Moda jelly roll, which end up being anywhere from about $30 to $40 a piece, I would be spending almost $100. So this is kind of a nice way of starting to practice with this. Now these came from various sources. I think this one came from Tuesday Morning, and I'm not sure if they still carry them, but when they did, I loved it because that's where I got this environmental one. And then I found there's a place up in Oregon that's called the Mill-In Store, and they carry these. These are very reasonable because there's 50 strips in here and it's only $14. So if you can find some inexpensive ones to practice on for your first quilt, that's a great idea. So I'm going to show you this technique. We'll be making them using the Big Lots jelly rolls, and I needed 4 of these to make it to be the size that I wanted it to be. This was 96 strips for making my thing. So I'll show you how we do it. Well, I started off with 4 jelly rolls that were like this. As you can see that there are there's 24 strips in this jelly roll, and there's 3 strips of each color in the roll. So I had 4 of these, and I separated them all out and ended up with a bunch that looked like this, where I had divided them into a pile of 32. I had 3 stacks like this, and I have 4 of each color of the jelly roll strips in each one of these stacks. And so now I'm going to sew these each one of these groups of jelly roll strips together to make one long piece, so that I can start making my individual section for the jelly roll top. So I'm in the process of sewing my strips together, and I've sewed some of them together in this particular one. And I have this many left to do. So the way I do this is I put my fabric strips together like this at right angles to each other, and I'm going to start sewing here, and I'm going to sew straight across down to here, and then that's going to give me my mitered corner. So I'll put it underneath here. If you need a pin, fine. If you need to draw a line, fine. I've done enough of them that I'm pretty good at getting a straight line going across and coming out right down at the place where the 2 fabrics meet down here. And then right now I'm just cutting these ends off right now. I'm just trimming my corners off as I do it, and then that way when I'm finished sewing all these, all I have to do is iron them open, and I can do that all at one time. It just seems like